Hey guys, this is Carl from carlsapsy.com here with another tutorial. If you have any questions about my videos or anything in general, head to my website and you can message me via my Contact Me page. Or if you want to, just leave me a message down below in the comment section and like my videos and subscribe to me if you want to. So this is the third part of the conditional operators that I said I'd be making about. So this is I think the sixth tutorial. And what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be showing you how you can use switch statements in your block of code. So we've currently gone through if-else statements, we've gone through the ternary operator, and now we're going to go through switch statements. Okay, so all three of them are exactly the same. They all provide the same function, the same they'll all produce the same result in the end. However, they're just written slightly differently. So the syntax is just slightly different. So what I've done initially is, if I can find it, I have provided in Sublime Text, here we go, the general method of writing the syntax for it. So let's go ahead and just quickly have a look. So the first thing we're going to do is assign a variable and assign it a value. So this could be a string value, this could be a numerical value, it can be any value. The next thing you do is you type in switch, followed by open parentheses, and then along with the variable name, and then close the bracket, and then open curly braces. So we're saying if the variable equals one of the cases, so the next thing we're going to write is case and then the variable value 1. Okay, so if the case if the variable equals the first case, then we're going to perform the first block of code here, hence switch block 1. Okay, so we're going to perform every single all the actions in here. So it can be printing out a statement, it could be loops, it could be anything. It's just any piece of code that you want to write in it. Then at the end, you can have a break statement. Now I'll be going into more details about breaks, but for now, all you have to know is that what's going to happen is the break statement will allow the code to be broken in such a way that it will exit the piece of scope, it will exit the scope of the switch statement to execute the remainder code. So I'll just write remainder code written here. So it'll break out of this scope here, which is this, it'll break out of this, and it will then perform this here. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. Now, the reason I've put a dot 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 means it can really go up to any number of variables that you'd like, just like any if-else statement in which you have the elif, you can have as many of them as you'd like. There's no limit on them. So that's really about all there is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you two different examples. One of them is taken from one of the past papers that I have done before, and I'm just going to slightly adapt it. And the other one is it takes into account strings. So one of them is using numbers, the other is using strings. So there are two different ways you can do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a new class, and I'm going to call this switch statements. Switch statements 1. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this, take out everything. Okay, in fact, let me rename this to numerical switch statements. Okay, so there we go. And again, we're just going to have this going to be done in the main method. So public static void main string args. Okay. Now, like I said, the first thing you want to do is you want to assign a value. So we can say double, we'll just call this value. And let's make this equal to 1 for now. Okay, and next we're going to have two more values. So we're going to say, we're going to int val, what we'll call this, a and let that equal to 4, and int b is equal to 3. So now, as you can see, I've declared 3 variables. One's called value of type double, one's called a of type int, and the other one's b of type int as well. And they've all got values assigned to them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in switch, okay, and I'm going to be taking into account the variable value, as I said earlier. So if I were to bring up my Sublime text code and just drag it, okay, can't do that. So I've written switch and then the variable name. So in this case, it's value. And then I'm going to open another pair of curly braces, and I'm going to say for the first case, so we say for case number 1, and then you're going to have a colon. So as you can see here, it uses a colon. So similarly, we're going to do the exact same thing, and now we're going to perform a piece of code. Okay, so we can now say that let a equal to 6 instead of 4. So therefore we're changing the value over. And after this, I want to break, which means it's going to break out of the loop. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have another case. So I'm going to say case number 2. And I'm going to let b equal to, make this 5. And then again, I'm going to break out the loop. Now I'm going to have another case. I'm going to say case 3. And in case number 3, I'm going to say let a equals plus equals 1. And again, break. Now I don't have to have breaks. Breaks are they're optional in switch statements. What breaks do is, as I've said, it allows you to exit the scope that the code is currently in. So it'll exit the switch statement and perform the piece of code directly underneath it. If you don't have break statements, what will happen is it kind of cascades. So it will check everything. So if I were to take the break out of here, it would first check case number 1. Then it would check case number 2, and then it would break. So it would perform both functions. So both the values would then be changed. Okay, but since we don't want that, we need to keep the break in. And finally, I'm going to have case number 4. Okay, I'm going to say, oh no, you know what? Instead of having that, let me just have a default. So what default does is default will run as the else statement. So if all goes, so if none of the cases are matched, then print this statement out. So it's your else statement effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and change value to a string. No, I'll have that as a integer value. Then I'll just take these as case 1, case 2, and case 3 instead of number 3. Makes life easier for myself. Okay, so and as my default statement, I'm just going to let a equal 1. Okay, and then again, I'm going to just break out of this. And now that my switch statement's complete, it is done and it compiles with no syntax errors. Now below this, so once everything finishes, I'm going to then want to, so after this, I then want to, print, I want to print out the value that I've had. So I can say system.out.println, I'll do a, then I'll do system.out.println out.println b, and then I'm going to have a plus b. Okay, so now all of these will run at the very end. So as of now, I've said int value is equal to 1. So when I run, it's going to check the value of 1. So does that equal to 1 here? If it does, then it's going to make a equal to 6. So then we'll see what happens now. So I'm going to compile it. Notice how the value of b will not change. So therefore, the value, well, as you will see in a moment, will be 9. Okay, so the value of a has now been changed to 6. The value of b remains constant at 3. And therefore 6 plus 3 is 9. So in fact, let me just say a is equal to, no, I may as well leave it at that. Okay, so does that, I assume that makes sense. I mean, it's not too hard to follow. It's just the case of the general syntax. So as I've said, the value here is a variable, which is of int type, and I've assigned 2 other variables of int type as well. And within the switch statement, it's saying that check the value of 1. If 1 is matched, then make a equal to 6. Then ignore this because I want to break out of the scope that I'm using currently. Okay, b has not been changed at all, therefore b is printed out, and therefore when you add them together, it's 6 plus 3. Now if I were to change this to 2, again I want to clear this, compile it, the values will be slightly different. If I go ahead and compile it, you get 4 and 5. The reason? A has now not been changed, B has now been changed to 5, so therefore A is printed as 4, B is printed as 5, and therefore A plus B is 9. Okay, and similarly if I do option number 3 and compile it, and then you get 5 and 3 is 8. Because over here what I've done is the value of a is 4, so it's going to case 3 because the value over here is 3. And I've said a plus equals 1, so a is effectively a equals a plus 1. So I've taken the new the value of a, which is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, and I've assigned the value of 5 to a. So therefore it's 5 plus 3, which is therefore 8. Okay, so that's one example that I'm using here. And if you have any other questions on that, or if you have any other questions on the syntax, for this one I will put the general format of it on online, as well as the 2 examples that I'm using. Okay, finally, if I'm going to use, let's say, case number 4, there will be one difference compared to the others, because there's no variable value which has got a value of 4. There's only case 1, case 2, and case 3. As a result, the default case is assigned. So a will be reassigned to 1, so therefore will be 1 plus 3, which will come out to 4 instead. Okay, as you can see here, it's 1, 3, and 4. As the value of a becomes 1, the value of 3 doesn't change, and therefore 1 plus 3 is 4. This would be for any statement. So if I said a value is equal to 99, the same thing would be produced, 1, 3, 4, purely because it's not within the 3 cases that I've given. Right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to show you another example. This one was taken from the Oracle website, and it's a very easily understood example as well. It's very similar to this, except it uses strings. Okay, so it was called Switch Demo, so this was taken directly from Oracle. And as you can see here, you've got your public class switch demo, so it's a public which means anyone can access it. It's a class which is called tSwitch demo, written in the main app. Now, as you can see here, a variable called month, which is of type integer, is assigned the value of 8. And then I've got string is equal to month string. As of now, if there was no more code written after month string, then the value of month string would be assigned nowhere. So therefore it's given the value of null, because that's because it doesn't actually exist. It's not pointing anywhere. So anyways, I've got my switch statement, and it's saying switch 8. So it's trying to find the 8th value. So it checks January, which is case 1. No, not case 2 either. Not case 3 either. Not case 4. Not case 5. Until it gets to case 8. Now these two match, so the switch matches with the case. And as a result, month string, which is equal to August, is therefore printed. Now, if you've noticed, the string type was declared above in the attribute field, in the attribute section. Therefore, you don't need to rewrite string month string. You can just write month string directly, which is exactly what I've been doing with the other demo that I made. Or not the other demo, the other numerical switch statements that I made. So if I picked, 12, now December would be printed instead. So if I just go switch demo, okay, December is printed. If I'd said 4, April would be printed. Anything else of that nature. Now if I'd put 13 or anything above 12, then it would say invalid month, and that would be printed off instead. Okay, so if I just go ahead and compile this, switch demo, invalid month. Okay, so, or we can say, please enter a valid month. Now, as a result, this is very similar to having the if and else statements, which would just say, if month string is equal to January, or if month string, if month is equal to 1, print January. If month is equal to 2, print February, until, if month is equal to 12, then print December. If or else, print please enter a valid month. So these are the 3 different ways that I've now actually shown you. So I've shown you how you can use the if statements and the else statements and the elif statements, which are very useful and most people would stick to them. Or you can use the ternary operators, and the ternary operators allow you to simply, it's just a bit of a cleaner syntax, and it's just as easily read. Or you can finally use the switch statements, which are the ones I've just shown you, which again, just as easily written. However, they do take a bit more understanding. They're a bit more involved. So if it was me, if I was writing a more complex program, then most likely I'd use it in an if-else statement or the ternary operators, and probably try to avoid this. However, this is still very useful to know, either way. Okay, so if you do have any other questions about any of any conditional operators, or if you have any questions about anything else, then feel free to drop me an email on my website or message down below. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. This is Carl from carlsapty.com.